The weather, hopefully he'll be back in the saddle tomorrow to keep you on the road and to update you on all the shutdowns. Even the State House has shut down for tomorrow. They are forecasting the weather in central Missouri to be so bad that already lawmakers are heading home today. They're going to have a short session today, get everybody on the road, and cancel the legislative session for tomorrow in Jeff City. So many people already forecasting the shutdowns. Right now in studio, the man who has made a whole lot of people look a whole lot better. His name is Charles D'Angelo, and he has got a book out called Think and Grow Thin.
That's right.
That's
Think
a mouthful.
and Grow Thin would be the opposite of what we want.
I saw on your website, Angela Bassett, the actress, is now endorsing you in your process of how to get thin and to think thin.
Yes, I've been very pleased to be able to help her. President Clinton, of course, has endorsed the book. Tony Robbins, Richard Simmons, many have endorsed the book. And it's all about getting in the right mindset. It's all about not only having a healthy eating plan and having a good exercise program. Both are just as important. But what really holds it together and keeps both of those two legs of what I call the three-legged stool balanced is the right mindset. How to be consistent, how to disconnect from that spontaneity in bad habits so that you become really consistent in eating healthy, exercising routinely, making it as basic as hygiene.
And busy people, I think, have the biggest struggle with this because you do have to carve out the time. You can't always just eat on the run or whatever's convenient. It takes a plan, doesn't it?
You have to have a plan that's easy, that's accessible, and is comprised of foods that taste good. That's really important. Without that, you're going to find yourself going back to those excuses of, well, I just don't have the time to eat right. We all have the same amount of hours in the day. That is something we all have in common, regardless of our bank accounts, regardless of the jobs we have, regardless if we have kids or whatever responsibilities we have, we all have the same amount of hours in the day. And it's what we choose to do with those hours that makes the difference. You know, you can always get more money. That's never an issue. You can always have more money, but you can't get more time. But what you have to do is make a decision that you're going to strategize. How am I going to eat so I can capitalize off the time I have? Because you don't have 6 hours for most people to spend in the gym like you see on these reality TV shows.
Right.
You have maybe an hour if you're lucky. So how can you make that hour really pay off? And we see all these people that spend hour after hour after hour after hour in the gym, and every year they look the same. Right. Or sometimes even they've gained weight. Why is that? Because the other 23 hours, they're not doing what they need to be doing with the right habits with their food and what they need to be doing with reconditioning the way they think about exercising.
I have to laugh because my segment before was Cat Neville
I heard you.
talking about chili and great
and
food
chocolate and everything else.
And eating big feast at a movie theater, you know, and now we're talking health. But I think it's because eating is fun, and you don't want eating to be work. And when I hear things and I hear a nutritionist talk, they're always sometimes talking about counting calories and knowing, you know, exactly what your body mass.
And that's the real unique part about my system is that once you set up a food plan, you keep with that food plan for 14 days at a time. You make certain that you keep with that consistent scheduled food set so that you're not really hindered by having to face temptation day to day. Because when you're trying to count calories or you're trying to count points and you don't know what you're going to do ahead of time, and then temptation comes up, it's far easier to give into it.
I love chocolate.
So what you got to have is a really consistent plan so that it kind of buffers you against giving into temptation.
What if you work in a workplace, though, where food is rampant?
Who doesn't?
Everybody in my office likes, like, every birthday, there's feast just being brought in.
It's societal, isn't it? It's part of our culture. It's celebratory. Yeah. When people are sad, when people are happy. And I know, I mean, I've been there. I was 360 pounds.
Are you really?
360 pounds as a teenager. So not only do I know what it's like to be
Go to the website right now and tell me this guy was 300 pounds at one point. He is fit, trim, and tight and everything. Well, I mean, you just did it by discipline.
All by reconditioning the way I thought about food and exercise. You cannot use food to change how you feel in the sense of using it as a drug. If you do, you're going to have the outcome that people don't want. You're not going to have the energy you want. You're not going to have the level of intensity in your workplace that you want. You're not going to have the confidence you want. Just yesterday, I had a young woman who's studying to be a social worker, a counselor, and she's over 300 pounds. And she was breaking down in my office in tears because she said she knows that young people, young women, young men are going to come to her and seek her guidance. And if she doesn't feel good in herself, how in the world is she going to be able to come across congruently to the other people that want her help so that she can influence them in a positive way? So you got to ask yourself, what is the long-term cost of giving in to using this substance, and we'll say food, as a drug to change how I feel. Some people use hard drugs, heroin. Some people use things like alcohol to change how they feel. The most acceptable one in our culture is using unhealthy food.
Yeah.
And you can walk through any airport, any Walmart, anywhere you go and find people that are morbidly overweight and unhealthy because of this. People take it lightly, but you have to think of the health implications that come about from that type of habitual bad habit pattern.
Charles D'Angelo, trainer, author of the new book, Think and Grow Thin, is our guest. And I know at Cardinal Glennon Pediatric Hospital, one of the big things we are struggling with is childhood obesity.
Absolutely.
And that starts at home as well.
The rate of childhood obesity is up 258% over 1974.
Wow.
So think about now we have children. They're diagnosed with lifestyle diabetes. Walk through any hospital, and you working at Cardinal Glennon can see many children that are sick because of things that are not from any of their lifestyle habits. They have cancer, or they have some issue that is out of their control.
Birth defects, things like
absolutely.
that.
But here's something that people can take control of today.
Yeah, 40% of disease is preventable, and we know that.
90% of type 2 diabetes is able to be eliminated with the changes that you can make in your habits of food and exercise. Just think about not having to take those medications your doctor has told you have to take. The doctor actually being able to take you off of that medication. Hypertension, cholesterol, all those things are reversible. Sometimes
don't you think some of the learning disabilities tie back to body behavior?
Nutritional issues.
Nutritional issues.
There is some literature to suggest that. Now, I'm not a nutritionist, but I'm not a personal trainer. I say I'm a weight loss coach. But I have seen that people, I had a young lady with lupus. Her doctor said, I'll call her Jennifer. I don't want to give her real name. But said, Jennifer, we're sorry, you're going to suffer with this chronic autoimmune issue the rest of your life. She lost 117 pounds, went back and had her blood work done, and they couldn't find any lupus markers.
Wow.
I really believe that when you step up, and I'm not here to preach, but I'm here to say God has a huge influence in our lives, I believe. I believe in higher power, whether you, God, Buddha, whoever you choose to worship or look up as your higher power. I really believe when you take the step and plant the seed, God will build the tree. That's all God asks you to do is plant the seed. So start feeding yourself the right way. Educate yourself. There's nothing better than going out and getting a good book that has all the information in there and starting to apply it. Knowledge without action is nothing. You have to take action. And I'm here to tell you that you can get rid of those diseases that you feel burdened by. You can get rid of this weight that you feel that's holding you back from getting the relationship you want, from having the energy you want, if you'll just make the simple changes that I recommend.
Well, one person who is on your website, a dear friend of mine, Catherine Hanaway, who is the campaign chairman for Ann Wagner, and I saw her about, I guess, 2-3 months ago at a function. I was so impressed. She looked like $1 million and felt good. You could just tell that Catherine was so proud of what she's accomplished.
She's lost over 100 pounds, and I keep all of my clients' issues private, but she publicly acknowledged her work with me. You just have to be willing to change the way you think about food and exercise, and ultimately shift your identity. Think of yourself as an athlete. Don't think of yourself as a fat person, because if you really believe that you're a fat person, ultimately, even though you might have short-term change, you'll be fighting this identity of, well, I can't keep this weight off. This isn't who I am. Look at yourself as fit, healthy, and you can do it. And if you want more information, charlesdangelo.com, or you can call 314-495-3228.
And the name of the book, Think and Grow Thin. I'm sure it's available on Amazon as well.
And Barnes & Noble.
All right. It's coming up on 9 o'clock. Dan Buck sitting in from McGraw-Millhaven on the Big 550 KTRS St. Louis.